All right, good evening and welcome to the Adult Children of Aging Parents, or ACAP. My name is Bruce McReynolds and I serve as the co-coordinator along with Michaela Tate for our Guilford County chapter of ACAP. This evening is our 22nd program since we introduced ACAP in Guilford County back in September of 2020. And we couldn't be more excited to have you with us tonight. Tonight's our first in-person meeting program, and we're joined with several others who are viewing the program on Facebook, live on our website, and on YouTube. So from wherever you're viewing from, we're glad that you're here with us this evening. If you're viewing this virtually, we invite you to join us in person the third Thursday of each month here at First Baptist Church here in Greensboro at 6 p.m. And join us in person in our upcoming meetings. Again, that's First Baptist Church at 1000 West Friendly Street here in Greensboro. So ACAP is one of 5 chapters who make up a national ACAP community. We're pleased to have our founder of ACAP community here with us this evening, and you'll hear from her in just a few minutes. But ACAP Community is a nationally unique 501(c) nonprofit organization. At its core, ACAP is an educational program designed specifically for adults who are caring for an aging parent. Our programs are nationally validated, copyrighted curriculum. Local community experts present each program. And local businesses, agencies, and organizations sponsor the programs so that they're free for everyone. But we do much more than provide a monthly educational program. ACAP Community produces podcasts, hosts annual symposiums, and through our community partners, serve as a valuable resource for you for accessing services here in our community. We'll be sharing at your tables this evening and on the screen how you can find us through our website, Facebook, and YouTube channel. So I invite you to check out some of our past programs. But all of our programs are made possible due to the efforts of our chapter leadership team and through our generous sponsors. So to introduce you to all the folks that make our programming possible, I'll hand the time over to Michaela Tate, our chapter co-coordinator.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce you to our leadership team. The leadership team is made up of individuals and organizational leaders from the community. Not all of our team members could be here tonight in person, but I would like to recognize the ones that are here. So as I call your name, if you would please stand. Steve Arrington with the Arrington firm. Ellen Whitlock from Senior Resource of Guilford. Ashley Pritchett with Edward Jones. Lisa Guy with Greensboro Area Health Education Center. Patty Aiken with Home Instead. Kevin Pierce with Arosa Care. Dr. Cheryl Greenberg. Dr. Corinne Allman with Choice Connections. Brenda with Elder and Wiser. Jennifer Harris with Age Advocate. Robin Thompson with Providence Place. Judy Perdue with Harmony at Greensboro. Teresa Smith with Arosa. And Sassy Howard with First Light Home Care. After tonight's program, please feel free to stop by to talk to any of our team members. I would now like to introduce Frances Hall, the ACAP founder.
Thank you, Michaela. Okay. Hello. It is so good to be here with you all. It is so good. I have said a number of times that we talk about the phone and Ma Bell and the next best thing to being there, and Zoom is even better than Ma Bell. For those of us who are old enough to remember that, some of you do not. You're too young to remember that commercial. Zoom is great, but there is nothing like being in person. And I am so delighted to be here. I have said to several of you that the last thing I did before COVID hit was to come to Guilford County and do the leadership team training for this amazing group of people. This is the first ACAP in person thing that I have done since we are at this point of COVID. So Guilford County will always be really special to me. And even with the storm that came through at 4 and 4:30, I'm here. So thank you for being here. And to the leadership team, you all truly are amazing. Wonderful leadership in terms of Bruce and Michaela, and all of you have worked together so hard to get to this point. And I am so grateful for all you've done. Bruce asked me to talk just a few minutes about how we got here. Sort of the background. How did ACAP even come into being? I have said a number of times that I created ACAP for me. I was caring for my mother, and I was working more than full time at Lenore University and running out the door like every other day saying, Mom has an emergency. I will be back sometime. And I might get back later that day. I might get back the next day. Sometimes it was a week later that I would get back. And I realized I love my mom. I want to help her. I want to be part of this journey. She had moved from the home she grew up in at the age of 89 to North Carolina to be near me. I wanted to be her caregiver. I always knew I would be. But when we got here, when we got to this point, it was much more difficult, much more challenging than I ever imagined or she ever imagined. And so in the midst of all of that, I'm running around going, how do I do this? Who do I turn to? Where are the resources? Who can help? And started realizing that there were other faculty and staff at Lenore who were doing the exact same thing, whether their parents were next door, across town, or states or even countries away. And I started gathering people together and said, let's just just come, bring your lunch. We'll just talk. It'll just be a support group. We did that for several months, and I realized we're not doing anything. We're not helping anybody. And so started bringing in speakers, faculty who were there at the university, people from the community. And in about a year and a half, I started hearing that there were people in Hickory saying, and when are you bringing this into Hickory? Because we need this, but we can't get there during lunch for like a lunch and learn. And so about that same time, I was blessed enough that I was able to stop working to care for my mother. And so in doing that, I started offering the programs in the Hickory community, and it has blossomed from there. Several months later, now a really close friend of mine, Jane Everson, Dr. Jane Everson, started coming to the program. She was a long-distance caregiver for her parents in Northern Virginia. And she started coming and realized there's something here. Jane's background is in disabilities. She has written books. She is or has been a university faculty, medical school faculty member, and realized there's something here, and there's something unique about this. And so we put our heads together and started putting together the programs that I had been offering into a curriculum, developed the curriculum, had it nationally validated, later copyrighted, started growing chapters. And we now have, in addition to Guilford County, we now have a chapter, the original one in Hickory, now called Foothills. The next one was in Centre County, Pennsylvania, where Penn State is. And I'll tell you the story later if you're interested in how in the world we got from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. And then we started Winston-Salem, and then Statesville, and then Guilford County. And we're in the process of launching chapters Cape Fear in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia. And anticipate that in 2023 that we will be starting chapters in Charlotte and in Suffolk, Virginia, and possibly Denton, Texas. So we are growing. It is truly a journey and a labor of love. And I am so excited to be at this point and so excited to see you all here. And I've already had some conversation with some of you, and I know that you're saying, we need this. I need this. I have friends who need this. So please, please do spread the word about the in-person programs. We also have, and I know I'm taking too long, I'll shut up in a minute. But we also have, in addition to the in-person programs, we also have the programs are videoed, as you may be able to see at some point. They're videoed, and so we have a video library that is growing because every chapter offers a program every month now, and that library will grow exponentially really fast. And we also have podcasts every month, and on the website there are books and blogs and just doing all kinds of stuff. So if you have any questions, let me know. My absolute gratefulness to you, the leadership team, for ACAP Guilford County, and I'm just delighted to be here. Thanks so much.
Thank you. ACAP Guilford is thankful to our sponsors who make it possible for us to have a local chapter. So I would like to thank our core sponsors, Griswold Home Care and Providence Place. And I would also like to thank our chapter sponsors, Health Team Advantage and Booth Harrington and John's Attorney at Law. But for tonight's program, we have two very special sponsors that help sponsor tonight. And I would like to introduce Teresa Smith with Arosa to come up to share.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight and a pleasure to be a part of this wonderful organization. I know the good deeds that they do on a daily basis, and I'm very proud to be a member. I want to talk to you just a minute about our agency. It's called Arosa Home Care. We also have an integrated model of care, which focuses on caregiving and also care management. So we combine those two to bring in a unique experience to the client. We take each family member and we talk to them. We try to bring in professionals that they trust, and we incorporate a plan of care that brings that patient in and family into a peaceful place to where they can enjoy life and not be stressed. We take family members that are from out of town, and we bring advocacy to their issues and any problems that they think may arise for their loved one. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for joining us online. And now I bring you another organization within ACAP that is very near and dear to my heart as well.
Thank you, Teresa. Hello, everyone. My name is Sassy Howard. I'm with First Light Home Care. I'm new to the senior community, but I found it to be ever amazing. So with First Light Home Care, you don't just get caregivers. You get the conversations and company. You get the help that comes with non-medical needs. If you would like to go to any events, we can sponsor, or we can drive you over there, and we can take you on shopping and errand trips. If you want to go to the beach, we can take you to the beach. Anywhere that you'd like to go, we can take you there. That's all I have today, but I will lead it over to Michaela.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Cheryl Greenberg, and it is my great pleasure tonight to introduce the speaker for our program. The program's name is The Wolf at the Door, Shielding Loved Ones from Scams and Frauds. I'm here to tell you that our speaker is an expert in that field, but just get a taste of what else she's an expert in. Angela, or Angie, Marie Swan Jones is a project manager, trained facilitator, infopreneur blogger, a lead AARP volunteer, and a forever caregiver. She is a committed AARP volunteer who serves others through the facilitation of various AARP programs, including caregiving, Fraud Watch Network, and decluttering for senior centers, churches, and other national nonprofit organizations in the Triad region, and event coordinator for AARP exhibits. In addition, she is the lead for the AARP National Technology Training Team, a member of the AARP National Volunteer Lead Trainer Network, and the Portal Volunteer Engagement Team for AARP North Carolina. Before committing to AARP, Angie was the Director of Project Management and Technology Training at North Carolina A&T State University. She led a team of project managers who successfully managed information technology projects and developed the campus project management framework in support. Her team also developed and delivered faculty and staff technology training. And before that, she began her career in technology with Ohio Bell and eventually transferred to AT&T when the AT&T Bell systems were divested in 1983. I can go on and on, but she's worked all over the state, all over the nation, and all over the world. She is a phenomenal person, but an expert also in this field. Angie, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Cheryl. Yes. I do want to say that I am not necessarily an expert on fraud because there's so much fraud going on and everything continues to change. So I'm happy to be here tonight. My buddy, Hellen Mack, was supposed to be here tonight, and Hellen left on Tuesday to go to Minnesota, and she was going to be back today. Well, she was at the airport at 6 o'clock on Tuesday, and the plane didn't leave until 11:30. And then last night she sent me an email and she said, Angie, help me. They say I'm going to be delayed in Minnesota coming home. So here I am. Here I am doing Fraud Watch, and I'm happy to do that because it's something that's extremely important. What we're going to talk about today, there are trends in scams and fraud, and I have material. I have something called the Con Artist Playbook, and I do have a copy of the playbook that the con artists are using. We're going to talk about prevention, some resources, and some of the other things that we can do with fraud. So 3 of the top scams in the United States are imposter scams. I'm reading this and I'm saying, I said to Cheryl, I said, I'm animated. I said, I may be over there. I may be over there. And Bruce said I had to stand here. So, and if you can't see me, it's because I'm 4 feet 9 3/4 inches tall and I'm behind the screen. But 3 of the top scams in the United States are imposter scams, debt collection, and identity theft. So we're going to talk about those, but we're going to talk about some other things too. When I talk about identity theft, I talk about the first thing people talk about is stealing Social Security numbers. Talking about your driver's license, your credit cards, your health savings account, and people getting all of that information and gathering all of that information and then creating an identity for themselves. And so that's when we talk about identity theft. Then there's investment fraud, and we'll really go into some detail about investment fraud and how people really get burnt with that. Offline and online scams. One of the things I talk about, Jean, the picture that you got, that the people online are saying, there's a picture of a lady named Jean. And Jean was one of those people that whatever she could do, however she could do it, that she was willing to make some money. And someone called her one day and said, you know, we have a lottery that's going on and you won that lottery. And then there's that exciting time when somebody says, but in order for you to get the $30,000 that you won, you need to send us $10,000. And then we'll send you your 30,000, or we'll take that out of that. And so that's offline and online scams. One of the other things that really is technology, because oftentimes when you're looking at the internet and all of a sudden you see something pop up on your screen that may be an ad for an app. And it's an app that you can use for security purposes to help you to clear up things. And this happened to a girlfriend of mine. An app appeared on her PC, and then all of a sudden she clicked on the app, and then this message came up and said, your computer has been compromised. So if you press 1, we can help you and we can take over your computer. And my girlfriend did that, knowing that Angie Marie Swan Jones had a technology background, but my girlfriend pressed 1 and decided that she would let this person take over her computer. Well, a couple of weeks later, after they were calling her and saying, you have to pay her some money, we want to come out to your house, she calls me and says, Angie, should I let them come to my house? And I said, let me know when they're coming, because I'm not coming on that day. And so that's what we want to be careful about. When you see these things on your computer, popping up on your computer, you don't want we were talking earlier today about, at one point in time, everything on the internet you really could trust, because the internet was just beginning and you can trust that. But now that anybody can post anything on the internet, it's a little difficult for you to determine whether this is something that's true or not. And with sadness, I heard this morning that Internet Explorer is going away, and that's something that I remember when it started. So it's going away, but that's something that we have to be careful about. And then there's the Con Artist Playbook. And I have a copy here of the Con Artist Playbook. And the Con Artist Playbook, we really and truly at AARP, we actually talked to con artists to find out, how are you scamming these people, and what are some of the things that you're doing? And one of the things that we did was that we had someone to go and interview some prisoners that had done some of these con jobs, and we had them to interview them. But we also got copies of tapes and videos and things where law enforcers had interviewed people, and we went through that. And as a result of that, and meeting with some con artists, we created what we're calling the Con Artist Playbook. And so there's some insightful things that are coming. If you don't want to make up your mind right now, a con artist will say to you, that's where I come in. I will make up your mind for you. I will help you to make up your mind. So that's and so we had a gentleman by the name of Jim, and Jim was in prison for like 8 years, but he made over a course of those 8 years, the years prior to that, he made over $30 million conning people out of that money. And so he was one of the people that we interviewed, and we were able to get him to tell us some of the things that were going on. So like one of the things that he talked about, it's known as ether, and it's heightened emotional state. Where a con artist will sit down and talk to you about what's going on in your life. I remember my mom passed in 2018, but I would come home from work and my mom would say, well, this person called and they wanted to sell me something, but I told them to wait until you got home after 5 o'clock from work. And the first thing I said, Mama, don't tell them that you're at home by yourself. That's the first thing you don't want to do. I said, and the second thing is that if you don't know who the person is, you don't want to tell them a lot of information. And I can imagine my mom was sitting there having this whole conversation with this person, and the person probably hung up because they probably didn't want to talk, because she wanted to talk to them. But that's what con artists will do. They will get you in a heightened emotional state so that you really share a lot of information. And that's what the con artists talked about. And some of the tactics that they use are phantom riches, profiling, scarcity, source credibility, and fear and intimidation. So we'll talk a little bit about phantom riches, and what con artists will call you and say, the grand prize is $25,000 in cold, hard cash. We have a lottery in Florida, and you can win $30 million on Saturday night if you join this club. And people start thinking about it. And unfortunately, it's a lot of our seniors that really get conned into doing this. First of all, because they have the money to join this. And then again, like my mom, she was at home alone. So somebody's calling on the phone. So she's ready to talk to them. And that's one of the things when they will tell you that we have this chance for you to win and make all this money. Then there's profiling. And that's the thing where they really start building a profile of what your life is like. They will call someone, and a widow will, you know, I love telling my life story. I lost my husband 16 years ago, but I love telling my story. But you have to be careful about who you're telling that story to. And a con artist will sit and talk to you and pick up on certain things. If you say to a con artist, "I am a widow," then they start asking you questions. Well, how long has your husband been deceased? And they start asking you other questions. And then after they talk to you for a while, they realize that, you know, not only is your husband deceased, but he left you at home with this home. You know, you purchased a home together, and he left you with this home. And then he starts asking you, well, how much is your mortgage? You know, to get some idea of that if your mortgage is at this rate, then, you know, I know what kind of house you have, what size house you have. So you want to be careful about providing information. Of course, I haven't said yet, and I will say that, just don't answer the phone if you don't know the telephone number. And you don't have to go through all of this profiling and the questions that are being asked. Scarcity. Sometimes what people will have now, if you don't get on this right now within the next 24 hours, you may not be able to become a part of it because we only have 4 units left. And if you don't get in it now, you're going to miss out on it. And so sometimes people will think, okay, if I don't, I mean, it's like I take some blogging classes sometime, and people will send me an email and said, you know, we're going to offer this discount, and this discount, you have to respond, you have to purchase within the next 2 hours. And then you think 2 hours. And then when you hit the next button, there is a counter, and it's counting down, you know, it's 2 hours. It's 1 hour and 15 minutes. And you're sitting there. And so because there's a scarcity and you're ready to do it all at one time, you know, you immediately say, okay, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to purchase it. And you've been conned again. Then there's this source credibility, where a person calls and says, I am the senior vice president, and I have an MBA, and I'm certified to deal with seniors. And I believe this is exactly what you like. This is exactly the right thing for you. And people believe because the senior vice president is calling them personally. Now, does the senior vice president really have time to be calling you and calling all of these people to find out? So you know that it's a scam, because if the senior vice president is calling you and not someone else, you have to be concerned about that. Fear and intimidation. After all of this, I've done profiling, I've done source credibility and everything else, and this person is still saying, I don't know, I don't think I'm going to do this, I don't know. And then all of a sudden, there's fear and intimidation that if you don't make a decision now, if you don't do this right now, then I'm going to come and do something to your family. I'm going to come and do something to you. I may come over, and if you don't have the money, you need to go and borrow the money from someone. But I may come over and burn your house down if you don't pay this money. And so you get this fear and intimidation, and immediately somebody says, you know, I need to do something. Or one of the other things that we talk about is the grandparent scare, where the grandparent gets a phone call and says, Grandma, I'm in jail and I need some money to get out of jail. Well, the first time somebody called me grandma, I said, I don't think you're my grandchild, because I don't have any children at all. So I don't think I'm your grandmother. Someone approached me at one of the movie theaters or something and said, called me their grandmother. And I'm like, I don't think so, because I don't have any children. But that's what sometimes the grandparents will get this phone call. and it says it's their grandchild. And so immediately they think that they need to do it rather than saying, okay, let me check on this. Let me call the mom, let me call the dad or whatever else. But there's that fear and intimidation that if I don't do something, that my grandchild is going to be in jail, no telling how long they're going to be there. But again, fear and intimidation. One of the other scare alerts, which is a biggie now, is social media. And you get a phone call and you get a robocall and somebody says, I'm calling from Facebook. Facebook is not going to call you. So if there's a problem with your account, it's a security issue or whatever the issue is, Facebook is not going to call you on the phone directly and tell you to press 1 in order for you to move forward and to pick up a call. So be careful when you're dealing with social media, because very few people are not going to call you from social media. They're not going to call you to tell you about a problem with your account, or because I'm seeing all the time, my friends are saying, don't accept a friend request from me because I've been hacked. That's how you're going to find out if there's a problem, and maybe Facebook will remove something, but Facebook is not going to call you over the phone. One of the other things that oftentimes people will call you and say, if you're interested or if you want to talk to us, press 1. When you're talking about, particularly in robocalls, oftentimes when robocalls are being made, people have no idea whether they are calling a live phone number or not. All they know is they have come up with a random number and they're going to call that random number. When you respond, when you pick up that phone and answer that phone, you have said to them, this phone number is a real number and there's a real person behind it. And then in addition to that, they will say to you, press 1. Sometimes pressing 1 allows them to pick up other information. Maybe they've dialed a random number and they're not sure what that number is. By pressing 1, they may have access so that you're feeding that number back to them so that they know that's a real number. And that's why they continue to call you and call you and call you. So you want to be careful about when you're, again, answering that phone, and especially if you don't know that person. A call or a pop-up says your computer is at risk, and I talked about that. And so you need to be careful about providing some access. Legitimate companies will not pick up the phone out of the blue and say, you have a problem with your computer and we'd like to fix it. Yes, it is possible for someone to log into your computer and fix your computer for you. But if that person is calling you out of the blue and saying there's a problem, then please don't allow them to have access to your computers. So some of the things that you can do: don't give unsolicited callers access to your computer. Keep up on your software updates and run your antivirus scans. Or if you don't have an antivirus on your computer, maybe you need to add an antivirus on your computer. Contact your credit card company to reverse any charges, depending. And if somebody says, I'm going to pay you, one of the best ways is to use a credit card, because at least you can get that reversed. If you're using a debit card, then you're pulling money out of your checking account. So you want to be careful about that and deal with that. So some of the other tools that you'll need, we're going to talk a little bit. I have some information on how to freeze your credit. That's one of the things that was started back in 2015, that we were asking people, to freeze your credit so that someone's not accessing your credit and running through that. And so we'll talk a little bit about the dark web and some of the things that we've done. The dark web really is, there's this surface public websites that you can easily search. And then there's the deep web where there's legal content, but it's not searchable. And then there's the deep dark web where if you have a certain type of software on your computer, you can actually go in, a person can come in and actually dig deeper into your computer. So that's why you want to be careful about that. I'm going to skip through a little bit here. We had someone to do a survey, and we asked them to take a quiz on doing debt and going through fraud and taking it free. And 60% of the people that we asked to take this quiz on fraud failed the quiz. One of the questions is, how often do you check your account? How often do you check your credit cards to see if there are what charges have been made against your credit card? How often do you check your checking account to see if money has been removed from your account? How often do you think about freezing your security if you see an issue? And the big one, how often do you use the same password? I taught a cousin who's 84 years old how to use Facebook a couple of years ago. And I told her, I said, occasionally, I need you to change your password. And so this past Easter, when I went to her house, she said, my tablet's not working right. I need you to make a change for me. I said, what's the password? She said, you know that password that you put on 2 years ago? I said, you haven't changed the password? And she said, no. Well, that's what you want to do. You want to change that password, and you want to make that you don't want to, some people put in a password of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, if I'm a con artist, one of the first things that I may look at is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or A, B, C, D, E. So you want to put in a password that that's difficult for someone to actually duplicate. So we'll be cognizant of that, and not using the same password for all of your accounts and everything that you have. Use a different password, and even try using, there's something called LastPass, where you can actually have that software to generate a passcode for you. You know the passcode to get into that, but the rest of the passcodes, it generates passcodes for you. So look for some software like that can help you to generate some passcodes. But protect yourself. You want to freeze your credit when you can, because by freezing your credit, sometimes you get all these letters that says you can get credit cards, you can get all of this information. But if you freeze your credit, if you opt out of your credit, and as I said, I have some of this information for you, but if you opt out and use strong passwords and not using the same passwords, that protects you and keeps you from your accounts and everything being scammed. The majority of us are not victims of identity fraud, and we can protect ourselves. One of the reasons is because of the statement, cyber criminals are lazy. They really don't want to go through a lot. So if they call you on the phone, they have these long conversations. One time someone called me, this was years ago when they were really starting with the robocalls. I said to the person, I said, I just got home from work. I said, can you do me a favor, please? And the man said, yes, ma'am. What is it? I said, could I have your telephone number, please? And he said, huh? I said, I just got home from work and I'd like to rest for a little while. So can I call you when you get home from work? Could you give me your telephone number and I can call you when you get home from work? And then we can talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And he said, huh? I said, you know how you called me and you're disturbing me right now? I want to do the same thing to you when you get off work. He hung up. So that's one of the things that and I've worked on it, but that's one of the things that they also tell you. If you're going to answer the phone, if you come up with something that you're going to say. My cousin gets this phone call about she needs some warranty on her car. And so when this one calls, she says to him, she said, I'd love to get the warranty on my car. She said, well, unfortunately, I don't have a car, haven't had a car for 5 years. So maybe, you can help me get a car first. And so she says every time they call, she tells them this story. But you want to come up with something that you feel comfortable in saying, to get people off the phone. Or again, just don't answer the phone if you don't recognize the phone number. Or in the other case, I used to get these phone calls from 336-254, which is my telephone number. I don't know anybody except for me that has a telephone number that starts with 336-254. I don't know anybody else. So anytime I see anyone calling me with that telephone number, those numbers, I don't answer the phone. So that's what I had to do with my mom to get her accustomed to. I know you want to talk to these people, but if you don't recognize the telephone number, don't answer the phone. Because again, cyber criminals are lazy. But if you're answering the phone for them, at least they've gotten through with you. So what we want to do is to sign up for AARP has a website called AARP.org, Fraud Watch Network. And you can help us. You can sign up. There's tracking in terms of when there's new fraud and everything else. And I have a copy. You have on your table a paper that looks like this. This is a list of the different types of scams and fraud, and this is over 20 some types of fraud, from business email compromise. We love the car warranty, IRS. Imposters, the IRS is not going to call you and say, I need some money from you. They're going to send you a letter first. And then when by the time you get that letter, they have already taken the money out of your account. But they're not going to call you and say, I'm going to take some money out of your account. There's jury duty scam, Medicare scam, medical scam, Medicare scam. I remember when in North Carolina, we had a couple of years ago, they said that we had to have these special driver's license, and that we had to take in all of this paperwork. And so I had just gone through and had just taught this class. And one of the things that we tell you is, please do not carry your Social Security card around with you. So I said, okay, I'm going to stop carrying my Social Security card around with me, left it at home. I get to the DMV, and one of the first things they ask me for is my Social Security card. So immediately I had to go back home, get my card, so I could get this new license. But you want to think about, you don't want to carry certain identification in your wallet, in your purse, because someone, again, can take that information from you and use it. And by having your credit card, a Social Security card, all this different information, they will be able to do some scamming that could very well be very damaging. There's the romance scam. He called me last night, and we talked and we talked and we talked. Well, you have no idea who he is, what he looks like, where he lives, or anything else like that. So you want to be careful about that. But again, look at this form and go through and see some of the things, the scams that are vacation scams, where people will sell you a vacation. I was watching a movie the other night. I'm big on Hallmark, and this lady made a reservation for a vacation, and she arrived on this island, and it said to her, the key will be under the mat. And she got the key out the mat. She went to bed, and then all of a sudden she heard a noise, and the man who owned the house came home. He had no idea. He said, I don't rent my house. I mean, it was a Hallmark movie, so it had to be very nice. But she ended up, the man said, you can stay. And I'm like, you're going to stay in a house with a man that you don't know. But anyway, it ended up working out for her. But you want to be careful about that. One of the other things that I have here is veterans getting scammed because of their health and other things that are going on that veterans are unfortunately are being scammed. So we want to be careful about that. But look at this list and go through this. I lost my PowerPoint here somewhere. Let me grab it again. Okay, there it is. So we want to make sure that we're doing the call number for AARP Fraud Watch is 877-908-3360, and it's in this material. And one of the things, if you have a scam and you've been scammed, you can call AARP and talk about it and see if you can't get some help. The other thing that I have here, I have a little card holder, because another way that people can scam you is they have these machines now where you may be carrying your cards around in your purse, and they're able to obtain your information by just scanning your purse. So I have available for you little pockets where you can put your credit cards in and keep that from happening. So that's the material that we have here. So some of the other prevention strategies. Con artists love people who get excited. You call them and they called you and said, I have a deal for you. Don't be too excited about it. Con artists love people that don't consider it's a scam. They think this is a real thing. Con artists love people when you call them and they don't ask a lot of questions. They don't want you to ask a lot of questions. And then they give you information and you don't read the information because you trust them in terms of what's available. You trust them in terms of that they know what's in the paper and you're just going to sign it. So don't sign it. Don't make a buying decision in a heightened emotional state. Ask a lot more questions. Read about the product before you buy it. Don't let the salesperson control you. Protect your personal information again. Monitor your bills and financial accounts. When you get that bill, look at that bill and look at that bill in detail so that you can see that nothing new has been added on your account. Check before you invest. One of the things is smartcheck.com, where you can actually check and check on charities. You get these phone calls all the time from different charities. My mom was really good about, she said, would the police department call me and they want a donation and I want to help the police department. I'm like, Mom, are you sure it was the police department? They said it was the police department. Well, let's check this out first before you do this. Watch over your credit reports. Do an annualcreditreport.com. Go to annualcreditreport.com and check your credit reports, because there could be things going on that you're not aware of. And we've talked about passwords, protecting your pins and your passwords, and protecting your mail. Go to optoutprescreen.com to opt out getting all these letters about here's some credit for you. Here's some credit that you can have. Or directmarketingachoice.org, where you can opt out of getting a lot of the direct marketing material that you're getting and asking you to buy some things. So AARP, again, has a website that has a wealth of information. It's aarp.org, Fraud Watch Network. All kinds of information that's out there. It's available. No, you do not have to be a member in order to see that information. You can go out and grab that information. But again, I've got a wealth of information here for you. A lot of that information that's already on the website. So that's it for tonight. And if you're unsure whether it's a scam or not, again, call that AARP number and check out and find out. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you. And thank you.
Angie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There's some, Angie brought with her tons of great resource information. So please check out what Angie's brought and take advantage of that as well. I know a couple other sources that we can use to help identify and help report fraud. The Family Justice Center here in Greensboro. Has some great resources. They help advocate for families and individuals that feel like they may have any type of fraud or abuse within their family. Also, the State Attorney General's website has a lot of great information as well. So we'd like to thank Angie Swan Jones for being with us this evening and especially on short notice. So thank you for jumping in there and being with us this evening. Appreciate your preparation and all the great information. We also would like to thank Francis Hall for traveling to Greensboro, North Carolina, and being with us this evening. It's what a treat to have you here this evening, so we appreciate that. Thank you to our sponsors, Arosa Care and First Light Home Care. We appreciate you sponsoring our event this evening, and check out their tables before you leave. Looks like they've got some goodies here for you. Special thanks to our leadership team for being here and supporting ACAP and helping make this happen. We appreciate your time this evening and all the work that's gone into putting on our program this evening. So we want you to stay connected with us. So there's several ways to do that. You can go to our Facebook page and like us. You'll get notices of our upcoming programs. Be sure to visit us on our acap.org website. You can check out our programs there as well as some other information. And then check out all of our programs on our YouTube channel. So simply by going to YouTube and searching for ACAP Community. And you'll find our all of our past programs there as well. So thank you all for being here. And we'll look forward to seeing you next month.